Apes together, strong. War for the Planet of the Apes is the third and final Planet of the Apes movie in the Planet of the Apes prequel trilogy, and it's directed by Matt Reeves, who directed Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and Cloverfield, I think, and stars Andy Serkis, Woody Harrelson, and a bunch of motion capture apes, which this movie tells the story of Caesar, played by Andy Serkis, and the other apes. They were all living in peace until something happens, which I'm not going to spoil, which makes Caesar go on this revenge path to defeat these last humans on Earth, which is led by this colonel, played by Woody Harrelson. Now, this movie I was freaking excited because, of course, Rise of the Planet of the Apes was one of my surprising movies of 2011. And what makes that movie really good is Andy Serkis as Caesar. He surprised me, and Andy Serkis is a great actor. He plays Gollum, he plays freaking King Kong, he plays a lot of CGI motion capture creatures. So him as an ape, he's probably my favorite performance, and him as Caesar Rise is great. And then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes came out, which is my favorite movie of 2014. That movie was a masterpiece. That movie was a great sequel, one of my surprising ones too. And what's good is that Matt Reeves, who directed Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, is directing this movie. So of course this movie's gonna be good. Like, I was expecting this movie to be great already. Judging from the trailers, this movie already looks amazing. And yes, I was totally right. Right when I walked out of the theater, my mind was exploded. And my heart was like exploded inside of me too. Because I think War of the Planet of the Apes is my favorite Planet of the Apes in the Planet of the Apes trilogy. I freaking love this movie, and I think it's so much better than Rise and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And what's more surprising about this movie is that in Rise and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the big flaws with those movies is that they focus on the humans a bit too much than the apes. Like in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, they did focus on the apes a bit more than Rise, but they did focus on the humans a bit, and they weren't as interesting. But they were fine in those movies. This movie totally focuses on the apes. The humans are like barely in this movie. Well, they were in the movie, but not as much. Like, Woody Harrelson's only in the third act of the movie. That's where he is. Because this movie mostly focuses on Caesar going on this revenge path. And speaking of Caesar, let's talk about Andy Serkis as Caesar in this movie. My god, he was great in the film. I think him in the film is what makes this movie more better. Because him as Caesar in the first two movies, he's a character. A CGI ape as a character. We never seen that before. But he is, and he was fantastic in those movies, and he was more amazing in this movie. And he is very dramatic in this film, because there's some dark moments with him, I'm not going to spoil, that made me do this. Like, you feel for him. You feel for Caesar during this whole movie, and Andy Serkis as Caesar, he was amazing in this film. Even the motion capture work on the other apes. These are the most realistic apes I have ever seen. I always thought they didn't do motion capture. I always thought that they put, like, real apes in the movie and they just made them, like, I don't know, put CGI mouths so they make them talk. But no, it's all motion capture work. And they did it so well in this movie. It looks so real. It looks like real life apes. Let's talk about Woody Harrelson as the villain of this movie. And I think he did a really great menacing job in this film. And he is the villain of this movie because I think from the trailers you can see he's more of a villain in this movie. And he is. And I think he did a really good job in this film. He is very menacing. There's one scene I'm not going to really spoil, is when Caesar and him are talking. And that bit makes me feel Woody Harrelson is a dick in this movie. Like, he was great though. He was great as the villain of this movie, and I'm really proud of him because he's really great in this movie. I'm more surprised this is not really much of an action movie. War for the Planet of the Apes is mostly a drama conflict movie. It's mostly a revenge path movie. It's not really much of a war movie. It should have been called The Revenge of the Planet of the Apes. And this movie does have some humor, which I would say this is a bit of a flaw in the movie. I think that Bad Ape, played by Steve Zahn in the movie, I think they dragged on with him too much. I'm not saying he's bad in this film, I'm just saying he was funny in the film, but I don't think this film should have any humor in the film. I know they're trying to change this whole film, I get that. But I think the humor shouldn't be much in this movie. I think they're just trying to make this more different than the other Planet of the Apes movies. And I don't mind the humor, but I just think the Bad Ape, played by Steve Zahn, kind of dragged on in this movie. He's more in this movie than you think. And I don't know. I wouldn't say he's annoying, but I'll say his character is a bit dragged on. I think that's the flaw with this movie. But this whole movie, I wasn't bored during this whole movie, I wasn't freaking bored. There's not even a single moment, even though the humor was a bit of a flaw in the movie, it's still not boring. There's nothing in this film that I was completely bored at. There's nothing about the motion capture work saying, oh my god, that should have been fixed. Because this movie, nothing can go wrong. This is my favorite Planet of the Apes movie I've ever seen in my entire life. This movie is so fantastic, epic, dramatic, a bit funny, and really emotional. This movie is sad in a couple parts. Like, in the end of the movie, I'm not going to spoil it as well. This is a spoiler-free review, but the ending, my god, I never expect the ending to be like that. It did it so well for the conclusion of this trilogy. I'm giving War for the Planet of the Apes an A. So guys, have you seen War for the Planet of the Apes? What do you think of that movie? Comment below, let me know what you think. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and have a nice day.